Hey, good morning. It's Cece Summerfield here, and today, as I said in my description of my video, I'm actually just here by myself. I usually interview a professional in a related industry to real estate, and today I thought it might be a good idea to talk about what I do as a professional. And I have some stories that recently came up, and I've written them down, otherwise I might just go out on a tangent. So I want to start with what level of service that you should expect from an actual professional agent who's working full-time in the business. And I'm going to relate it to some of the stories that have come up recently in my business. Sellers, I want to make sure that you're hiring an agent that uses a professional photographer. This is so important because the photographs go everywhere. I recently came across a listing on the MLS. Now the MLS is where we actually put the listing on, and it syndicates to all those big listing sites like Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com. This particular story about these awful pictures is that I was looking through the MLS for comparable properties for another property I was listing, and I came across this one, and I was flipping through the pictures, and not only were they cell phone pictures, which isn't always bad, but when the lighting's bad, it makes it extra bad, and so it was really shadowed and dark, and then some of the pictures weren't even turned the right way. So I'm looking at the hallway, or a light in the hallway, and I'm having to look at it sideways to actually see it right side up. So if there's an agent out there that doesn't even know how to turn pictures in the MLS, I mean, we got real problems. And then, you gotta understand that this is like making the first impression. 90% of buyers these days are seeing the listing for the first time online before they ever see it in person. And to speak to that experience too, on the buyer's side, I recently had a buyer who I had sent a listing to. The pictures weren't great. And he actually didn't look at it. I mean, it's been sitting on the market for a while too. He actually didn't look at it and admitted to me that he didn't really think much of it because of the pictures. So we finally took a look at it, and it's actually a property he does like, but because of the pictures, it held him off for months from seeing this property. So that's how important good pictures are. I'm keeping notes here because otherwise, like I said, I might go off on a tangent. I also had an experience just recently about competing with another agent that had given this person a really high number on the listing price. And I just want to warn you that, especially in this market, I mean, back in the day when listings were flying off the shelf, this strategy might have worked, but now that we're in this changing market where we're having to really pay attention to what is going on around in the neighborhood as far as sold properties, what's going pending, what's currently active, what your competition is, I'm just going to say, don't hire the agent that gives you the highest price and tells you it's going to sell in 5 days. It just doesn't work like that anymore, and those agents definitely need to check themselves and make sure that they are really doing the research behind it. And what will happen, I mean, if you hire an agent that does this, chances are their marketing plan is really weak. I mean, they're probably going to be sticking it on the MLS. Like I just said, that's the place where we have access to put pictures on, give a listing description, and target it out to all of the other agents in the area. So their marketing strategy is putting on the MLS, putting a sign in the yard, and hoping somebody else brings them an offer, another agent brings them an offer, or a buyer walks through the door. So be careful with that. I mean, I'm not saying the highest price isn't always the best. Obviously, you want to get the highest price. But what happens when it's out of range, it just doesn't feel right, or you've looked and done your own research on price and you kind of already know what the home is worth? What happens when you list with that person and then months down the road, the listing's still on the market because it hasn't sold because it's too high price, and now they're asking for a price reduction, right? So you've just wasted like 2 months in listing time, where you probably could have sold for a higher price that you will eventually sell for later on, and within the time frame that you're looking for. I mean, who's listing their house and waiting? Who wants to wait months for it to get sold? I mean, there's a reason why you listed it. You want to sell it. So just keep that in mind. And so I want to switch over to the buyer side. Buyers, you deserve to work with your own representation and somebody that's working full-time in the business. I recently had some buyers that came through an open house of mine, a listing of mine, that told me they were working with their CPA. Okay, so it's tax season, and I'm kind of wondering the quality of work that person can do on either end of either business, CPA or real estate agent. You can't, I just don't think you can do both professionally. It just doesn't make sense to me. And so what they were doing in this situation is they're like, oh, we're going to look through open houses, we're going to look at these properties ourselves, and then we'll let the person know when we're ready to write an offer. And I'm thinking to myself, and I mentioned this to them, is if they're not even seeing the houses, so they're not aware of what the inventory is, so how are they legitimately going to negotiate an offer for you in your best interest? I mean, think about it. If they're not out there looking at these houses, they don't know the exact value of these houses, to be able to suggest an offer price. And I know you can gather a lot of information online without the MLS, because everything's public now. But quite honestly, one of the biggest sites, Zillow, says somewhere on their website that they admit to having a 28% discrepancy in value or error rate. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be higher or lower in that case, 28%, up to 28%. So I just don't feel, this is one of the biggest investments you're gonna make in your life. So how could you possibly let somebody who maybe works a business, maybe a very small portion of the time, because I gotta imagine he's busy doing taxes right now for people, how could you let them negotiate the biggest investment in your life? And then furthermore, when you actually get an escrow on a property, how are they gonna know, how are they gonna handle the disclosures? There's so many pages of disclosures that the seller needs to provide you. How do they know which disclosures you're gonna need as a buyer from the seller? And make sure that that happens. Make sure that you're doing the inspections that you should be doing on the home. So buyers, please don't do yourself a disservice. Agents out there that work full-time do not get paid, agents out there anyways, we don't get paid until you actually buy the property. And so why wouldn't you go ahead and treat yourself to somebody that's working in the business full-time, is willing to go out and show you properties. Now I realize I have those clients that really just like to go to open houses and see things on their own before having their agent step in. But the point being is me as an agent, full-time, I'm out there constantly looking at homes. So I know what the comparable homes are, and I'm constantly keeping an eye on the market for you. So that alone to me says that you should be working with a full-time agent. Don't do yourself the disservice of working with somebody that's doing this and doing a handful of deals in a year, or even just one deal a year, because they just want some side money. So that's what I have for you today. I hope that makes sense. And if you are looking for an agent, either on the listing side, listing your property to sell, or the buyer side, I handle both, and I work in San Diego, the greater area of San Diego, we'll say, and I'd be happy to help. So please don't forget my name and give me a call if you need some help. Thanks, and have a great weekend.